Welcome to pattern making class. I'm Annette Julie, and today we're working on developing a shawl collar for a jacket. Feel free to start with a torso or jacket block. I'm starting with a center front princess panel, and I've copied this off, and I've added a 1-inch extension and a 1/4-inch seam allowance at my center front. I've also determined my break point. This is where I'm going to want the shawl collar to start, on the center front. There's one neckline adjustment that you're going to need to do for your front and back. So I have princess seam panels. I'm going to line them up with the stitch line on top of each other, and I'm going to drop my front shoulder at the high point down 1/4 of an inch to 0 at the low point. And this is a shoulder adjustment that's going to help our shawl collar roll. I'm also going to take my back, which is also princess panels, but this could be, like I said, a torso block or a jacket block, and you just have one connected shoulder. But I have my center back and my side back, and I've taped them together where they are lined up with the stitch line right on top of each other. And I'm going to raise up my high point of the shoulder up 1/4 of an inch down to 0 at the low point of the shoulder. So up 1/4 at where the neckline is. Then I would also add on the seam allowance to compensate. And then after I've made that pattern correction, I need to take my new back neckline measurement and add 1/8 of an inch to it. And I have a total of 3 5/8 with that correction, plus 1/8. So the back neckline is now 3 3/4. So let's come back to your front. And you've traced this off with plenty of room. You're going to take the 3 3/4 of an inch measurement, and you're going to apply it from this new high point of the shoulder. We've dropped this down that 1/4 of an inch. You can also draw the new seam allowance. So that's gone down, and then the seam allowance has gone down as well. We're not using that line or that line anymore. So the 3 3/4 inch is going to start here and go up. This is our new high point, and we're also going to establish our roll line from the high point to the break point. Let's go ahead and draw your roll line. And you could go ahead and put in an optional dart. Not all shawl collar fabrics need a dart. I went down 1 inch and then 5 inches. And 2.5 inches is the middle. And I'm going to go out 1/8 of an inch on either side. And then I'm going to use my curve ruler to draw this dart. And like I said, this is an option. You might not need it with the type of fabric that you're using. So you could go ahead and sew the garment and do a partial fitting and see if you need to use the dart. There's our optional dart. Drill holes, back 1/2 of an inch, and in the middle, I'll do 1 drill hole. Now we're going to take that 3 3/4 of an inch, which is the back neckline, after we've adjusted the shoulder by bringing it forward. we're going to go up 3 3/4 of an inch. There's our 3 3/4 of an inch, forming our right angle here. Now we're going to drop down 1/2 of an inch, reconnect our line, and we're going to blend a nice S curve from the high point to that dropped line. Let's go ahead and use a hip curve so we can blend that in. Giving it a nice curve. That looks good. And we've applied our 3 3/4 of an inch back neckline plus ease. Now we're going to establish a new right angle off that S curve that we just made, and you're going to bring that line up 3 inches. Now we're going to draw short little lines 3 inches up, running parallel to where our shoulder is, and we can connect these lines, and this is the start of our shawl collar outer edge. Now we can go ahead and draw the rest of our shawl collar and connect it with our parallel line. So I'm going to bring this out straight for a little while, and then I'm going to curve it back in and bring it down to my break point. Now I'm going to add the 1/4 inch seam allowance on the outside edge, and this is the front of my shawl collar jacket. I would need to go back and make a facing, and on the facing you would add an extra 1/8 of an inch on the outside edge where I'm drawing right now to make your facing. So I'm adding the seam allowance. This is 1/4 of an inch, rounding around. Now here at the center back, I'm going to add 1/2 of an inch. And on our neckline, we're back to 1/4. And then we had already fixed the 1/2 inch seam allowance here. We adjusted that. And at the center back of our shawl collar, we're going to need some double notches. And I made sure, whatever shawl collar design this was, that this is forming a right angle right there at the center back. Let me go ahead and blend my outside edge. And like I was saying, when you make your facing pattern, it's going to be a copy of this same piece with 1/8 of an inch added on top of the seam allowance. So right now I have 1/4, and you would add 1/8 of an inch, this whole outside edge, and you would blend it down to 0 right there for your front neck facing. Here we now have the full shawl collar, and you can choose to interface this piece or not, because this is the front of a jacket. So with this being a shawl collar, I could choose to interface this front piece. We're going to cut 1 in self fabric, but we're also going to, we're going to cut 2 in self fabric. We're going to cut 2 in interfacing. And this is going to work as our interconstruction and give it a lot of support. And then go ahead and sew this and see if you do need to sew the dart. that could be your design decision later on. Here where the break point is, this could be a notch, but it's not very good to put your scissors there. You could just mark that on your pattern. And then we have those double notches to show us our center back. This is Annette Julie, and this is the end of your shawl collar demonstration. See you in the next video.